Warm greetings from Thailand, and thank you very much, Shinta, for inviting me to speak on this session for the DIES National Multiplying Training Programs for LEAP 2026. When Shinta invited me, she asked me to talk about my leadership experiences, and I decided to call this the Higher Education Leadership Hacks. And with this is something you should not expect from this presentation. One is that I'm not going to be talking about theory of leadership or the how to lead or do and don't in the leadership. What can be read from this, you can read through all the leadership skills handbooks that is available on the market. What you should expect from this presentation is that I would talk about the leadership from my own experience, mainly because I believe that the higher education leadership is very unique. Why is it unique? One, the leadership of the higher education is not the same with the corporate leadership. It's not about the profit. It has the meaning that you are doing something bigger for the society and you are working with the people. Secondly, for higher education leadership, it doesn't come as the ownership. You don't own the higher education institution. You come in terms. You lead for a certain period of times. And when the term finishes, you have to go back to your own roles. So with this, I would talk about higher education leadership in a very unique way. And it depends on also the context of the leadership institutions or leadership higher education culture of your own specific context as well. So with this, I will focus on what I have learned. So a little bit of myself, I would like to give the introduction about me with two numbers. The first number is 32. The second number is 48. And the phrase is JEDI, or the Gender Equity, Diversity, Inclusivity, and Power Sharing. I would explain briefly. 32 is my age when I started to lead the higher education institution in Thailand as the assistant president. And when I was 48, I was a leader, director of the regional organization called CMO Right Head. And by my training, I have practiced as an economist who is very keen on studying gender and development. Dear to my heart is my value to promote the gender equity, diversity, and inclusivity. And I also lead with my principle of power sharing. I believe that everyone is the leaders in their own ways. And when the leaders come together, we should have a voice to actually share and contribute to where we are going together. Now, coming back to the number 32 and 48, why is it important? It is very important because in my culture in Thailand, age is something that is considered crucial. We are living in the seniority respected society. Age 32 in my institution means that I was really young. Actually, I was the youngest in my team when I was started leading this institution. So this is my challenge when I was 32. Actually, I just moved when I was 32 from Chiang Mai University, which is a bigger university, older university. When I moved to Mae Fa Luang University, during that time, the university was only 10 years old. And we have a very visionary leader who has been throughout his life working at the ministry. So the style of leadership, of his leadership, is really top down. So he would direct everything. He would say yes or no. So first thing that I have it as a challenge is that I really have to understand what is his vision, what he wants to get at, what the university wants to contribute, being the young university. So one, I need to understand what is the vision of the university, what is the mission. Secondly, I also have to understand the rules and regulations because the university that I serve is the first public autonomous university. They have their own rules, they have their own setup. I have to understand how I can make a move. I have to understand the rules and regulations. And thirdly, I also have to understand the culture. Culture is how things get done in this university, including who is actually making a decision, who has influence on things to be happening, who is supporting who who is playing politics with who. So all that I really need to understand. So that is my leadership challenge, considering also that I just moved from the university that is very liberal. Now looking back to my leadership experience, I think it's important to know, of course, about the vision, the mission, and things that that the university wants to achieve. But in our own role as a leader, I think there are two things I believe it is very crucial to us. One is that we need to have our own purpose. We have to set the purpose for ourselves as a leader. Usually I would ask three questions. One, why we are doing what we are doing. So for me, I was in charge of internationalization of the university. So you might have a lot of reasons why you want to do internationalization. But for me, internationalization is to actually serve the community of learning, especially the learners who come to our system, and they would graduate being the global citizen. They can live and work anywhere in the intercultural setting. Second, what do we need to achieve? This is also including everyone in the system, including the staff as well, knows how to become a global citizen. And third, we ask questions all the time, how can we achieve this? And every step that we do, we also have to learn and also reflect. So usually when one job has already finished, I would ask myself, what is satisfactory? And when I ask this question, I'm not asking only myself, I also ask with my team as well. Secondly, I would also ask, what else can we improve if we have to do this one more time? And third is that, what do I learn about myself? Actually, throughout my leadership experiences at the university, I learned that one, I'm a really stressful person. I want to achieve everything with 100% without any flaws. I learned this because I realized that every time I have to do something, I usually get really stressed out. So I learned how to cope with my own self as well, how to achieve this, and everyone around me also being happy and not being stressful with me. So this is, for example, something that I learned. Now I think one helpful thing to know is that I'm not doing this alone. When I'm saying learning, I also learn from my staff. I'm also learn from my boss. And it's very important that in your life, you have a mentor. If you have a mentor, you would have a safe space where you can throw yourself in. You can talk about your failures, your mistakes. You can talk about how you can actually bridge the gaps, for the next time that you are doing things. How do you actually move on with all the failures that is happening and failing forward? I think it's very important to get the honest feedback from your mentors and also get the relevant questions as well to improve yourself and also your work. Secondly, I think it's also important that you have a good role models. And I put role models because there is no one that is perfect in everything. So you might have different models for certain things. For example, my boss is very authoritative and very decisive. His style of leadership is good when the situation is at the crisis, because you have to make the right decision. You have to be responsible to your decision. Sometimes it's also good to have someone who is listening deeply, carefully before you are making decisions in the style of the power sharing. But, at the end of the day, the leadership is a mixture of different kinds of models, and you can actually learn from your role models. Now, moving on. When I moved to Simeo Right, we have a tagline that we are your partner in higher education. And with this, you shift from the institutional leadership to lead on the regional level. When you are leading the regional organization, you have two concerns about so many things. One is that your counterpart is no longer the university's administrators. Your stakeholders are no longer just the lecturers. Your stakeholders is no longer just the students. Your stakeholders, the main stakeholders and your counterparts are actually the government and the policymaker of 11 countries in Southeast Asia. I think the most important things we have to be aware of Southeast Asia is that we are the region of differences. We are different in so many ways, the size of the countries, the number of the population. You take, for example, Brunei. You have 4,000 people in Brunei. And you have the countries like Indonesia, you have 280 million people. You have the highest higher education institutions numbers in certain countries like the Philippines and Indonesia, where you have only 5 universities in Lao PDR. So that is the vast differences. The systems of the university in each of the country are also different. The way you run the university is also different. So with this, you really have to understand the context, how the higher education institutions and higher education sectors in each of these countries are different. And with that, you also have to build trust, because so far, since 32 to 48, I have never worked with the government and the policymakers. You have to build trust that you from the institution can actually contribute to something better and good for the region. And third, we have to always respect people. Regardless to the fact that we are different, we can still work together. So with this, navigating the regional higher education sector, you also have to identify the common vision, the shared vision of the region. Regardless to the fact that we are different, we still need to identify what we wanted to work together, and also concerned with the difference that we have. So one, we co-create the shared vision, and we decided that we want to co-create the common space in Southeast Asia higher education. If you cannot imagine this, you think about the EU, that they created the common area for higher education is the same thing. We wanted to have something like Erasmus Mundus program. We wanted to have the Bologna process. And at the end, all the university, all the governments and policymakers agreed that we would do this together. But in order to do this, I also recognize that some small countries may have less voice and they don't voice themselves so much. So we decided that we would create a common values that we would hold together. And with that, we called it DEIB, which is the diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging. Sense of belonging is very important for this region because we want to make sure that everyone feels that this region is theirs. Their voice is important and meaningful, and they are willing to actually contribute to the common space, even when they don't have much resources, whether they have other challenges that other countries may not have. But it's important that we stay together as a region. And third, our organization, Stimio Right, we only get funding for 10 million baht a year, which usually enough to cover all the expenses and salaries. But we don't really have enough money to go for activities. So with that, we have to identify strategic partners who have the same shared vision and also the common values. So we work a lot with the EU, we work a lot with the US, IIE, we work a lot with DAAD on different kinds of projects. And very importantly is that you lead by example. When you think about the common space, you have to act like you really do care about common space. You talk about DEIB in your office, in our office, we also practice DEIB. I think there are 6 lessons that I learned from doing leadership experiences. One is that, maybe some of you have seen the film The Transformer. One is that, during the time that I take my role at the Stimio Right as a director, it was the time when the COVID-19 broke out. And the first thing I did as a director is that I announced 100% work from home. Now, higher education is a sector that sometimes we have been accused that we are slow moving, slow in changing. I have to say that during that time, there was a call for higher education to transform itself. So I would like to draw your attention to the film Transformer, which you will see the bumblebee, which is the beetle cars. When you talk about transformation, you don't want to just change the bumblebee into different colors. You want to change it altogether because you need to have a new function. In Bumblebee, it changed to the robot. But I have to say, being in the leadership position, you are going to lead the transformation. You need a courage because you don't know either whether this would be successful. But the lesson already taught you that what brought you here wouldn't bring you anywhere, different from where you are now. So the transformation for higher education, you have to be brave in order to lead the change. Secondly, And this is the scene of higher education in Southeast Asia. You can look in more details that there are a lot of differences that I have already identified. Even though we wanted to create the common space in Southeast Asian higher education, we want everyone to have the same standard, maybe similar standards. You want everyone to be able to transfer credits. You want everyone to be able to work anywhere. But we always have to remember that we have to balance between our ideal and also reality. You move forward one step at a time and always check in with all the counterparts, whether they are ready to do certain things or not. And we keep pushing forward as well. So DEIB always taken as a principle, and you always balance being true to yourself about the ideal and reality. Next is that strategic partnership and sustainable partnership is actually built on trust. Lots of times people feel like, they are introverts, they don't want to go out and meet the people. But believe me, you don't really have to be extrovert to build partners, but you have to really be strategic and know what your strength is, know your common values, know your vision. And you seek for the strategic partners who have the same values and same visions. And then you work with sincerity. You should be able to say what you can do, what you can't. You can be true to yourself. In doing this, you would keep a long-term, more sustainable partnership and work on the activities that you can do together. Next is that this is one of the things that my boss at the university taught me. He said, when you are in the sea, you sail the boat. Some leaders don't make a decision when it's needed. If you don't make a decision, the boat will sink. You better sail, even when you go to the different directions and it's not the right direction. At least you can come back. But if you don't make a decision at the right time, you might sink. So being the leader, always remember to have the responsibility to make the decision at the right time. And it doesn't matter if it is a wrong decision. Next lesson that I learned is that disruptions is here to stay. So the disruptions is the next new normal. So you should wait until the next new disruptions come in and be prepared for this. You have to be resilient. When I was working at the institution for internationalization, during that time, they are stopping all the traveling. It's like you are playing a chess and you lose the queen. Yes, it's very important, but it doesn't mean that you lose the game already. Keep on reinventing the new things. And last but not least, learn to appreciate, because at the end of the day, as I said, leadership in higher education is a term-based. You should appreciate everything that you have achieved, learn how to fall forward, and if you finish your term, you come back to your own roles. Still try to actually contribute the most that you can. So with this, thank you very much, and always remember, you were born original, don't die a copy. So you are the leadership in your own roles. So good luck for everything. Thank you very much.